Modern technology allows for pretty much anyone to get together a studio, even if it's a bit DIY, or in my case, insanely DIY. See, I have probably the most esoteric and convoluted workflow that I think is possible in modern age. So at this point you're probably wondering why. Good question, so am I. Also, if I sound weird in this video it's because I'm sick, and not like kickflip sick, more like unwell sick. It all comes down to the equipment I use, my choice of which comes down to a limited budget and also stuff I can beg, borrow and steal together. Things that aren't designed to work together, things I'm using for multiple purposes, some of which aren't intended, things that don't work properly and require insane workarounds. It all makes perfect sense to me, but if I show this room to anyone else, they'd probably think it's some sort of weird joke. But why suffer on with it instead of upgrading it, I hear you ask? Well, it's familiar, and also I don't have the space for it right now. I don't actually struggle with it, because I know what's going on, but at the same time I know it's miles far removed from what's conventional. Let's begin. On the software side of things, FL Studio is my DAW of choice. An uncommon choice in my genre, but not unheard of. Mick Gordon used it. This is supposed to be a list, but that's all I've got. I use Archetype Gojira for my guitar tones, among other things. GGD for drums. Very common, nothing weird there. I have Serum, but I never use it for some reason. Couldn't tell you why that is though. Soothe is an absolute godsend for taming tricky frequencies, especially for vocals. And lastly, I program bass with this VST here. Everything else I use is stock FL Studio stuff. You don't need the biggest toolbox, you just need to know how to use it right. Normal enough so far, right? Just wait, time for hardware. This is where it starts to get insane. I have a budget interface that allows one mic and one guitar. No complaints there, that's exactly what I need. Speaking of mics, imagine my surprise a few years ago when I realised I had an almost unused SM57 laying around. No need for introduction, you already know how good these are. Since it's the only mic I own, I use it for vocals, which isn't the strangest thing ever, but it has its challenges. As we all know, the SM57 is a dynamic mic, so its position relative to the source of the sound and even the room you're in has a drastic effect on the tone. This leads to an unnatural vocal tracking experience. You have to stand in the same spot and stay dead still. Not that hard, but annoying for sure. Onto guitars now. I record everything with the same guitar regardless of tuning, which I do by pitch shifting, but I'll get onto that in a minute. The guitar in question is a Les Paul Junior, 22 frets, 1 pickup, strings I haven't changed in about 7 years. Yeah, this is my first electric guitar, and despite the hoops I have to jump through to use it, it's never let me down. The tone's good, it stays in tune well, and to be honest I have an attachment to it. It's in drop D, which is the lowest tuning it can handle. Even if I wanted to track and drop C sharp, I'd have to pitch shift it down a semitone, which I often do. I even use it for ranges that a sane person would be using a 7 or 8 string guitar for, like drop A sharp, drop F, and the lowest tuning I've used in years, drop C sharp 1. So low. I have a 7 string, but I mostly only use it for writing because the pickups are too low end heavy to get a salvageable recording out of. I have that in drop G sharp by the way, so I can write for that tuning without using MIDI or guessing. That reminds me, how do I record these guitars, you ask? Brace yourself. As I mentioned, I use digital amps, but due to the limited power of both my computers, there's just enough latency to trip you up. So to sidestep this, I track guitars with the signal muted. No monitor loopback, no split into an amp, nothing. Just the sound of the strings in the room. Most people, rightfully so, don't even entertain this as a feasible option, but honestly it's really not that bad. I can hear the notes at all, so that's enough. Plus I know what notes I'm playing based off of the fretboard. It's not ideal, far from it, but it gets the job done. Speaking of not ideal, how do I record pitch shifted guitars, I hear you nervously ask? With a pedal? With a quad cortex? Well, that would be too easy, wouldn't it? I export the demo with MIDI guitars, put it in a new project, transpose it up until all guitars are in drop D, which if you've been paying attention matches my guitar. Then I track it in drop D, export the DIs, put them in the original project file and then transpose them back down to match the song's tuning. Is it that hard? No. Would it be easier to spend a little bit of money that I'd get back after one paycheck? Yes. Does it fit the legal definition of insanity? Yes. Will I keep doing it for the foreseeable future? Probably. There's a pattern to all of this. It's unconventional and probably garners a visceral reaction, but none of it is really that hard to work with. Thanks to how advanced even consumer grade equipment is, even limited budget setups like this one can produce good results. There's an ongoing debate about whether or not gear matters, and of course you can't be tracking on like a World War I radio mic or anything like that. But I think I'm living proof that it doesn't matter. A very small amount of money and a lot of resourcefulness can get you a long way. Like I said earlier, it's not about having the biggest toolbox, it's learning how to use it.